Hey, brand builder, Rory Vaden here. Thank you so much for tuning in to listen to this interview. We are so excited to bring you this information and wanted to let you know that, hey, there's no sales pitch coming from anything that we do. This is all our value add to you and the community. However, if you are somebody who is looking for specific strategies on how to build and monetize your personal brand, we would love to talk to you. And we offer a free call to everyone that's interested in getting to know us and is willing to give us a chance to get to know them and share a little bit about what we do. So if you're interested in taking us up on a free strategy call, you can do that at brandbuildersgroup.com/summit call. brandbuildersgroup.com/summit call. Hope to talk to you soon. On with the show.
Hey, one of the things that we find that our clients struggle with a lot is just, getting new clients, right? I mean, building a personal brand is exciting. Having a message is exciting, but there's a big difference between having a message and having an audience and making money. And so one of the people that I'm honored to introduce you to today is Bill Cates. So I've known Bill for years. We actually met through a group at the National Speakers Association called the $1 Million Speakers Group. So he has run multiple successful enterprises over the years, and it's been, decades that he's been in this space. He's actually a Hall of Famer, in the Professional Speaking Hall of Fame. He's also a certified speaking professional. He's the author of many different books, or I guess three books. I think this is your fourth book?
It's actually my sixth book, but that's cool.
Sixth book. He's cranking them out. But so historically, Bill taught referrals, right? He is one of the most recognized thought leaders in the space of referrals. But his new book caught my attention. It's called Radical Relevance. And so it's more about sharpening your marketing message, cutting through the noise, and winning more ideal clients. So I think he has adapted a lot of his expertise here in this book, Radical Relevance, to, I think, very much a modern approach to how business is being done. So anyways, Bill, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Rory. I appreciate it. Always good to see you.
Yeah. So let's start with the radical relevance concept, right? So that's, I think that's a pretty catchy concept. Can you explain exactly what do you mean by radical relevance?
Yes. Yeah. So a couple things. First of all, I believe we live in a radically relevant world. And what I mean by that is that our prospects are inundated by messages, right? The beauty of the internet has made it easy to get our message out. And the double-edged sword is that because everybody's getting their message out, nobody's getting their message out, right? So people are deluged by messages. And so we've got to find a way to cut through all that. And if you look at the way the world is moving, I mean, relevance has always been important. And anytime anyone tries to influence someone else, you got to be relevant. But look at Google. Google is built on relevance, right? You start to type in a message and you're 2 words into the 7-word search and it already knows what you're looking for. Amazon.
Yeah.
Bought this book, you want to buy this book, et cetera. Everything is about relevance. There's even, billboards on the side of the road that are
like the Bud Light. I've seen the beer where they do like hyper local marketing, like, hey, exactly. Nashville, or hey, Titans fans.
Well, they know based on Waze and Google Maps and all those map functions. They know the demographics of who's driving by the sign at any given part of the day. And so they adjust the message for who their market is at that moment. Some billboards even have pollen sensors in them. So they detect when the pollen count gets to a certain level, it automatically triggers ads for allergy medicines in the local pharmacies. So
wow.
We live in a world where the way to get through is to be really, really focused and to have the right market selected. And not to to be all things to all people. And everybody knows about having the right market. And that's kind of the target. We got to have a target. But we also got to have the bullseye. The bullseye on the target is what I like to call the right fit client. Now, people probably heard the term persona or avatar or ideal client. It's pretty much the same thing. Who you are meant to serve, who is meant to be served by you, who appreciates your value for all the reasons you want them to appreciate the value. It's kind of the your business soulmate, if you will, is your right fit client. And so the more narrow we can go, the more relevant our messaging becomes. And one of the mistakes I found is a lot of people, in an effort to kind of include a little more, to not exclude this group or this group, they make their message a little broader. But what does it do? It actually diffuses the effectiveness of the message. So that's what I mean by being radically relevant.
So I want to
target.
talk to you about that for a second, because I think that this is something we walk clients through is identifying their core target audience,
Sure.
and getting really clear on that. And in every scenario, every single time we do this, there is like this emotional bond that people have
Right.
to the world at large, that they feel like they're somehow they're disserving people, and they're not being inclusive, and so how do you get over the emotional side of this?
Yeah, that is the toughest, and some of it's based on fear. And the fear is, if I just work on this group, this segment of the market,
Sure.
I'm gonna miss all this opportunity. And the truth is, if you pick the right market, yeah, you'll miss this opportunity, but you'll be so successful here and help these people so much better than if you're diffused, you won't even notice that you're missing that. So part of it's fear-based. Part of it is, you're right, just that emotional attachment to your message and wanting to help as many people as you possibly can. However, the problem or the fallacy with that, or mistaken thinking, is that if you don't come up with the right messaging that's going to attract the right people, you're not going to be helping anybody. You're going to be helping actually fewer people than what you want to do. So what you can do over time is you can develop more than one target market. You can develop more than one bullseye. Someone just starting out probably doesn't want to try that. You want to start with your strongest position. But over time, you can do that. I've done that with my business in a number of ways over the years. But for instance, a website's a good way to think about this. If someone comes to your website and you've got a message that's trying to serve like 3 different masters, right? 3 different types of visitors, then everything's going to be too much. You're probably going to use too many words. People are going to get confused. What we want people to see when they get to our website is that we know them, that we get them, that we understand them. Empathy is huge in this, right? And it's hard to do that on a website unless you help them self-identify. So for instance, on my website, I have 3 personas, 3 avatars of people who are coming to my site. One is corporate folks who bring me in to speak at conferences and do training and our video training and all that. Then I have individual solopreneurs, individual salespeople, reps, advisors, who also look for the content we have, and other people who are planning a meeting and they want a speaker. And so what I do is I have them self-identify who they are. They click on that appropriate link, and then everything that they are given, all the messaging is geared towards them. So you can have more than one, but you got to treat each one differently and separately.
So do you think that by narrowing the market, like narrowing this focus, is sort of like, that saying, the riches are in the niches. Do you think that you make more money by serving fewer people? Or do you think that you actually are serving more people? It's like you're reaching a bigger percentage of a smaller pie,
Right.
rather than a smaller percentage of a bigger pie.
That's a hard question to answer, because it's probably going to depend a lot on the niche, the market you go after. What I do know is that you're going to bring more value, because not just perceived value because you have the right message, but real value because you're actually going to know them better. You're going to go deeper and wider, and you may come in with a certain level of expertise, but as you serve those people, you're going to learn about other problems they have, and you're going to help them solve this problem, that creates a new problem or a new opportunity. That's why I wrote the book, because I was helping people generate more referrals and introductions, and that borrowed trust would get them in front of more people, and the borrowed trust would carry them a certain distance into the new relationship. But eventually they had to build their own trust, and they have to have the right messaging and the right trust building mechanism. And that's what Radical Relevance does. It takes it deeper with my clients. And that's the same thing in any niche, as you get to know the niche better. Now, you decide to serve a sub niche within that niche, which is just the most successful companies in an industry, let's say. And there may not be a lot of those, but you get really deep in them, and there's a lot of opportunity there, and you serve them really deeply. So it's hard to say. You could end up serving more people, you could end up serving fewer, but one thing I know for sure is you're going to serve them better, and they're going to see your
That's,
value.
yeah. I mean, it's interesting if I use me and AJ as a case study,
Mhm.
with Brand Builders Group, it's like, we're somewhere underneath the topic of business, and then
Mhm.
somewhere underneath the topic of business, you'd have like sales and marketing. Our
Mhm.
former company, that we exited, used to do sales. So now it's like we're somewhere under marketing. And then under marketing, you would have branding. And then under branding, you would have personal branding. And then under personal branding, you would have like specific niches. And it's like this
That's it.
company, in our first full calendar year, we have gotten to the same revenue point as what has taken us 5 or 6 years in previous endeavors, but our niche is so narrow.
It is, and what's happening is the way you're messaging your value, the way you're talking about what you do and who you do it for, it resonates so well with the right people that it attracts the right people to you. It, I hate to use this word, but it repels the rest. In other words, some people say, all right, that's not for me. And that's what you want, right? You want people to identify very quickly to see that you understand them. And now, thank God we live in a large country and in a great big world that there are enough of those people there that allows you to create a very robust business. I mean, it's possible to select and go so fine-tuned that there aren't enough people in that niche to sustain a business. So that obviously has to be considered. But
But
in
it's
your
pretty hard to
case,
do that. Well, that's pretty hard to do that, like in the world we live in and how connected. But it's funny you say that, because like our vision is what we call 1,000 messengers.
mhm,
Um, and so our core offering, right, is that we work with people. We see them 4 times a year. They talk to a strategist every month. They get virtual trainings for us. That's like our signature program. It's
right.
called Pro Quarterly. And we know, like, our vision is we want just 1,000 people. Like, we only need a 1,000 is
Mhm,
a huge business for us. That
right.
is, more than what we would ever need. And it's only 1,000 people out of however many 8 billion on the planet. So you don't need to reach millions and millions necessarily. And I think that's what a lot of our clients, they see Tony Robbins, they see Lewis Howes, they see Oprah, they see, even like Brene Brown and the Simon Sinek's, and they go, oh, I want to do that. I want to reach millions of people. And they're stepping over probably the likelihood of having a very wonderful income by just
Right.
finding a narrow focus and just really serving those people at a high level.
And it doesn't mean they can't eventually get to that point, but to get from here to there, you don't do it in one step. And if you find that niche, you find that target market, you excel at that, and you create those 1,000 raving fans, if you will, then there are other opportunities will open up, and you can start to leverage that great will that you have with those people and create more opportunities. You just have to take it one step at a time. Another way to think about this for the folks who really just love serving as many people as they possibly can, understand, especially if you're in a B2B kind of situation, or even a B2C can work, if by you serving whoever your client is, remember that by helping them be better at whatever it is that you do, you're serving other people. You're serving the people they come in contact with. So for instance, I've been helping a firm who does peer groups with CEOs. And so they know when they help the CEOs come to the peer group and get better, become better leaders, they're impacting all the employees, and all those companies are being impacted because the
Oh, I see what
CEO
you're
is
saying.
getting better, right? So there's a follow-on effect or benefit. If you're serving an individual and you help them become a better individual, whatever it is you do that makes them better, you're impacting their family, you're impacting their friends. So, don't think that the impact you have just stays with that one client. It really impacts a lot of people. And when you think that way, you realize you really are affecting a lot of people.
Yeah, like consider the indirect impact that you're making. That's really good. That's because I think a lot of this is just an emotional. It's a fear. It's a, oh my gosh, I can't narrow. Like I need to reach more people. and there's various reasons why. So, and I think if you get this right, like if you nail the audience, it's exactly what you said. You will serve them better. So how do you know which audience is the right audience to go deep on, right? Because it's like, this is, this is a part of in our what we our phase one experience. We call it, finding your unique brand DNA, is going, you got to find your audience, and it's like there's all these different audiences you could serve.
Right.
How do you pick the one, or like what's the criteria you use to say, well, this is the one I'm going to attack or serve?
And my answer to that is going to be a little bit of my own personal experience. It's a little bit trial and error. It's rare that someone comes into a business and immediately knows exactly what their message is and who it's for and has the perfect flow. I mean, some people probably do that. Sometimes it's based on what you did before you came into this new business, what other industry you worked in, what contacts you have. There's a lot of that goes into it, that natural market, some people call it. So for instance, in my own business, I've been at this for over 25 years. When I sold my second book publishing company and decided to get into coaching and training and speaking, I knew the printing industry because I bought printing, I sold printing. So that was my natural place to start. And so I knew what to say to those people to help them, et cetera. But I eventually outgrew that industry a little bit. The profit margins are low, et cetera, et cetera. And I was looking for the next thing. And so sometimes we have to take action looking for the clarity, right? We can't always wait for perfect clarity to take action, because if we do, we may never take action. And so we just act, and we deliver our value to different groups, and we see the resonance. So in my particular case, when I wrote my first book on referrals and I had an opportunity to speak with some financial professionals, financial advisors, it was like immediately love at first sight for both of us, right? Because they wanted what I taught. I believed in the value that they brought to their clients. And I always tell my staff that when we're helping these financial advisors and planners help their clients, we're helping a lot of people get their financial house in order. And it's very important for everybody to do that. So that was like the perfect match. And it's expanded a little bit since then. I do a lot of different types of professional services now, but I was doing what I was doing, looking for the right match. You might not know it sitting in a seminar, I know you bring tremendous value to your clients, but a lot of it's just getting out and do it and see who it resonates with.
Well, I think that's an interesting insight. Is it's like, don't wait for the clarity to come before you take action. Take action knowing that the clarity will come as you walk down the path.
Yeah, looking for the clarity. I mean, when I knew I wanted to write a book, but I didn't know what I wanted to do on. I knew I wanted to go deeper into a topic. I was kind of a generic sales speaker, and I liked prospecting, but I didn't know what. And then eventually, too long of a story to tell here, but this idea of referrals and introductions hit me, and it like resonated immediately. So it's like I was acting, doing my thing, looking for the clear vision. Now you got to have a certain amount of clarity. You won't do anything, right? And you give that to your clients.
Right.
But you don't have to be perfectly crystal clear. It doesn't have to all be figured out. You got to take action.
Yeah, it's sort of like, come up with something that's like 80% right, or 70% in a direction, and then just start walking towards the direction and then figure it out. Now, as you were talking, I'm actually coming up with my own little checklist here. is going, okay, how do you find your right audience? One thing would be going, okay, what do I have? Who do I have knowledge to serve? Another is, like you said, who do you have relationships with? I think another one would be, what audiences do I have access to? Right? That was one of the things about Brand Builders Group, where it was like, we've been serving salespeople for so many years, but it was like, I know so many people in this space, and AJ knew so many people in this space of authors and speakers. It was just like, gosh, this is an audience that we have access to. That's and then also, like, there's a need, like, who has the need that aligns with your expertise. Those are some of the clues. But so anyways, I want to come back to something directly in the book. So in chapter 3, well, the title of chapter 3 is The Neuroscience of Relevance. I want to talk about this because this is interesting to me, because I think when we hear relevance, or we hear niche, or we hear target audience, we think of marketing strategy, or like brand speak, or like business best practice.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought this conversation is fascinating. How does neuroscience affect the context of what we're talking about here?
Yeah, it affects it intimately in a lot of different ways. And, the way I think and the way I structured the book was, there are certain principles that should guide us. Marketing principles based on how the brain works. And so I start off with the principles. And then from there, we derive the strategies. And then from the right strategies, we derive the tactics. The problem most people do is they go straight to the tactics, right? And if something's not working, they look for a new tactic, but it could be a flawed strategy, or it could be based on just a flawed belief or principle in the first place. So with that as kind of an umbrella to this conversation, I wanted to learn how the brain works, because I know the more we can understand how the brains of our prospects work, and our own brains for that matter, the more we can tailor the message properly. And there's a couple of quick things I'll give you that from that chapter. One is just understanding what the brain's main function is, which is to keep the organism alive, which is to conserve energy, to conserve calories. That's the brain is designed to do that. And so whenever you come with a message for your business that might be a little too clever, a little confusing, a little convoluted, the brain goes, oh, confusing. It takes more energy. I don't want to go there. And so it's not relevant. It's not perceived as relevant. It's almost perceived as a threat, and it moves on. And so that's why we know that the brain craves clarity. Now, it doesn't mean we can't use cleverness sometimes in headlines and how we discuss what we do, but it better get into the brain immediately. I use it as a kind of a back to the billboard scenario. It's like, if you're driving down the road and the billboard has a message, and it's 30 seconds later, you finally get the clever message that's on the billboard. Well, it didn't do its job. It's too late because you missed the exit, right? And so it's got to resonate quickly. And that's what the brain's looking for. The brain is also scanning 6 times a second. That's pretty fast. Am I safe? Where am I? Am I safe? Am I safe? And then 3 times a second is there an opportunity? So the brain loves an opportunity, but only if it feels safe. Well, guess what? No wonder most marketing messages that are most effective start with, what's the problem? I understand your problem. I know you have this problem. And then there's an opportunity that comes from that. So that's how we structure our messaging based on how the brain works. There's one more real quick. It's a concept called cognitive.
So hold on
Yeah.
one second. You said that 6 times a second, the brain is asking the question, am I safe? And then three
Yes.
times a second, the brain is saying, is there an opportunity?
Exactly. And the brain is built for opportunity. It loves opportunity, but only when it feels safe.
Right. It's subservient to safety.
It is, absolutely. Because what happens is, it's like the reptilian brain is just looking, say, am I safe? I'm safe. It's fear-based, right? Am I safe? Am I safe? Once it feels safe, that's when the cerebral cortex can start to come into play, and thought can start to come into play, and aspirations for things we want to accomplish start to come into play, but only when the organism feels safe. And so, knowing this sort of stuff really directs how we talk about our value, right? How we message it, the questions we ask, how we display empathy for our prospects' situation, so we'll resonate with them. The other one, real quick, is called cognitive fluency. And what it says is, let's say if someone goes to your website and your website is a little convoluted, it's not as clear as it should be. Everybody's always saying, well, when you look at my website, it's under construction. Yeah, I get it. Everybody's website is always under construction.
Always under construction.
Right?
Yeah.
But if it's lacking a certain amount of clarity, the brain is going to immediately make the leap that this is confusing to me. Dealing with that company is going to be complicated. It just makes that immediate leap. And so the clearer and simpler we can make all our messages, all our steps, everything that we convey to people, the easier it is for people to take that path to us. Otherwise, the brain will just say, no, too much, can't go
Which
there.
again, to me, all of that is sort of a natural byproduct of narrowing the niche, because
Yep.
if you narrow the niche, like you automatically are speaking to a specific subset of people, and they quickly go, oh, this is for me, or they quickly go, this is not for me.
Exactly. That's what we want. We want them to say, this is for me, this is not for me. And if they say, this is for me, we've earned the right to a few more seconds of their attention. And
Yeah,
then we slowly pull them through that.
It's so interesting thinking about Brand Builders Group again, just as an example.
Sure.
Of, we have clients, because, my background, I come more from like the corporate world and speaking and stuff. We have people going, hey, can you help our company do branding? And it's like, no, we don't do that. Like, we don't do company logos. We work with personalities. We work with people.
Right.
And then, that definitive decision is really, you have to have discipline to make a decision, and especially to follow through. Because here's the other thing that happens, Bill, is like, our clients say, all right, I'm going to serve this audience, I'm going to go in this direction. And then all of a sudden, one client shows up and waves a little money at them and says, hey, and that's a real issue too, right? It's like, we got to pay the bills. But AJ and I had this conversation the other day. Pretty soon we're going to be free to get back into the world of sales training. Like, we'll be able to do that, right. But we probably won't. But she gets calls every day of some of the, hey, we need help. Our sales team needs help. And we're just like, nope. But that money is super enticing to pull you off track.
Well, and that's where you form an alliance with someone who can serve the client, and you make the introduction, and maybe you make some money out of that. Maybe you just create some goodwill, but either way, the client gets served, and you can say no. And I get it. Look, we've all been in a place where, we're attracted by the money, especially when we're getting started. And I'd say that sometimes there may be a reason to do that. But first of all, if somebody comes with a big check and you're able to serve them and do a good job, you don't want to take it if you can't do a great job. There can possibly could be some synergy there, because in that large company, you might also be able to, like in your case, be able to help a lot of their employees create their own personal brands, right?
Right.
Their sales force create their own person. So there could be a synergy there. But in all your outbound marketing and all your outbound messaging, it has to stay on focus, right? You may take
sure
side deal to help keep things going for a little while, but
here's what I found. Here's what I found about the side deal, and I wonder if this is true for you. Like, speaking is the speaking business is a good example of this, right? Like, some company shows up, they pay you some money to come speak to some audience outside of your core thing. It's like, sometimes there is a natural fit, and it kind of makes sense. Sometimes you have to do it financially, and you just go, this is not a long-term strategy thing. This is a short-term desperation thing. But if you're financially stable, what I have found is every time I've chased one of these, it begets more of the same. And so it's like, it takes you further and further off the path that you were on.
Yep. It's true. And you're probably going to spend more time trying to serve this company or person that's not quite in your niche. So it's not going to be as profitable. You're probably not going to be as good. I mean, there wasn't a time when I took anything anybody, put at me. That's just, that's what happens.
Yeah.
But it's a sign of neediness, right? It's not an abundance mentality for sure. But I'm never as good when I take something outside my main focus. I will only take a speaking engagement or a training engagement if I feel really good that I can do a great job for these people, and that I also don't have to spend, triple time trying to figure out their business and do the right thing for them. Because I don't want to do a half-ass job, right? And so
right.
You got to be very careful, and it's an abundance mentality. And sometimes it takes working with someone like you and your firm and your coaches to stay on track, right? To not be teased by that. One of my first mentors in this business, a guy named David Rich out of South Carolina, he says it's like a garden hose, right? It's shooting this fountain of energy, of this water that's going out. But if you start taking this little over here or this little idea and little pinpricks right into the garden hose, and then the water starts to spray out, and then the water coming out of the end isn't as strong. And so we just have to be careful with all those distractions. Easier said than done, I know.
Yeah. Well, I think it really is. So one last kind of off-topic question,
Sure.
but um, it's relevant, and then we'll kind of land the plane. A lot of our audience, we know they are people who have the desire to do paid speaking.
Hmm.
Um, and just being that you've been in the industry and you're in the Speaking Hall of Fame, what is some of the advice, and speaking to relevance, right? Like the industry has changed dramatically
Oh,
even
yeah.
in the last 5 or 10 years, let alone 20 years. The What's the advice that you would give to somebody who's saying, gosh, you know what, I really do want to pursue the profession of paid speaking? um, what would you tell them?
Well, there's so much, but a few things. First of all, be very clear on what the problem it is you to solve, right? Do you solve a problem that people want solved, right? You're going to be much more successful, much more quickly solving problems than you are helping people hit aspirational goals. I'm
Hmm.
not saying there's anything wrong with hitting aspirational goals. That's a great thing to do. But usually, if someone has a goal and aspiration to go somewhere, do something, at the heart of that is actually a problem, right? They don't like where they are. They don't like something right now. And so we got to know, what problem do we solve? And then, what's the result of that transformation? That's one thing. Another thing is you got to be really good at doing what you do and conveying your message. And everybody thinks they're pretty good as a speaker, and most people don't really work on their craft. I have a certain natural ability, but that only carries me so far. I've worked with coaches. I practice. I hate practicing, but I practice to get better and better. And you've got to be willing to do that and pay the dues, if you will, in terms of building that craft as a speaker. And then to treat it like a business. It's most people in this business don't make very much
Yeah.
money because they don't treat it like a business. They don't have a business mindset. And I guess the final thing, as we approach the landing strip, is you got to get good at talking about your value. In a way that isn't arrogant, but in a way that displays confidence. There's a fine line, I think, between arrogance and confidence, and we know people that have both. But your clients need to feel that confidence coming from you, right? It's okay to be humble and modest, and I'm a pretty modest kind of guy. But at the right time, I've got to turn on that confidence, and people have to see that. And so that's part of the sales process, right? Of just showing up with confidence and making confident recommendations to move someone along in that process.
Yeah. Well, I love it. The book is called Radical Relevance. Bill, where do you want people to go if they want to get connected with you and stay in
Yeah.
touch?
Thank you. I appreciate it. So radicalrelevancebook.com, radicalrelevancebook.com. Well, that's the page for the book. You'll learn about the book, see if it's a good match for you, see if it resonates with you. And then my main website is referralcoach.com, referralcoach.com. And a lot of free resources there, a lot of ways to get into my world to see if I can bring any value to you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely love it. There you have it, my friends. The one and only Bill Cates,
Thank
talking
goodness.
about narrowing the niche. What a great conversation. Well, Bill, thanks for being here, my friend. And as always, we wish you the best.
Thank you, Rory.